Well, hello and welcome to my latest video. It's a little bit wet outside, so I ought to be out on a club run with my cycling club, Old Portlands, cc.co.uk, but I've cried off because of the rain. I know I shouldn't, but getting old and turning into a bit of a fair weather cyclist, not like I used to be, and I'm going to tell you some stories of how I used to be. Anyway, so I thought I'd come in the garage and make you a video. So what are we talking about today? Well, we're talking about shoes. Now, anyone who's watched a lot of my videos may have seen that I have a bit of a thing about shoes. I'm like the Imelda Marcos of shoes. Do you remember Imelda Marcos, good friend of mine, the wife of the president of the Philippines, who had the largest shoe collection since Cleopatra? Funnily enough, Cleopatra, as they found when they opened some of her tombs, had thousands of shoes, mostly sandals, very good for walking across the sand. But anyway, Imelda Marcos, she was the Cleopatra of the shoe world, and I am the Cleopatra and the Imelda Marcos melded into one of the cycling world, because I do like my shoes. I like bags as well, and anyway, shoes and bags, what a combination. So I thought I'd just go through with you some of my shoes and some of the stories that my shoes can tell. And I want to start by this pair of, these are Physic Terra shoes, by the way. Nice dark green. Now, apart from cycling, one of my big interests is T.E. Lawrence, also known as Lawrence of Arabia. Oddly enough, there was a programme about him on Channel 5 during the week, not a particularly good programme. I have read about 60 biographies of T.E. Lawrence. I can't quite say what it is. I suppose it's because he's an enigma. He's a very interesting character, and of course most of his activities were in the Middle East, and I've always been quite interested in that ever since I spent some time in Israel. So I had these shoes, these Physic Terra green shoes, and I wanted to recreate one of Lawrence of Arabia's greatest journeys, which was the attack on Aqaba. And if you've seen the film Lawrence of Arabia, you'll be familiar with that. There was about a 500-600 mile journey across some of the most inhospitable desert countryside in the whole world. And I thought, well, I'll do that. I won't do it on a camel, but I'll do it on a bike. I had a camelback. No, I didn't have a camel on my back. I had a camelback thing that you put on your back, which you fill with water. So I did this 600 mile journey. It took me a couple of weeks, and I went across this inhospitable desert. God, and the desert, it took me 3 days. I had my camelback, had 2 litres of water, and oddly enough, and I must say I wasn't expecting this, and this wasn't the case in Lawrence of Arabia's time. There are actually a couple of hotels as you go across the desert. They're called Arabia Inns, and so you can have Arabian nights in these Arabian Inns. They're a bit like Premier Inns. They're not massive. They're not 5-star. I mean, they don't have swimming pools or anything like that. But there is a bed for the night, and there's a Toby Inn. Most of them have a Toby Inn beside them, so you can get a 3-course meal, often a roast if you go on a Sunday. And I did go on a Sunday, as it happened, so I got a roast. So I was able to break up the journey in the Arabian Inns, have my Arabian nights, as I crossed the desert and recreated Lawrence of Arabia's journey in these. In these shoes. Now I've been in touch with the British Museum, and they've asked if I'll donate these shoes to them as a kind of memento of my journey, and I do intend to do that, but I want to wear them for a bit longer. As you've seen, they've stood up remarkably well, so I can recommend, if you're interested in Lawrence of Arabia, if you're interested in recreating some of his journeys across the deserts of Arabia, get a pair of Physic Terra shoes. Highly recommend it. Next pair I want to show you is these rather attractive black leather with red stitching shoes, and these are by Dromati, Dromarti, Dromati, and I won't put these on the table because my wife says it's bad luck, and I've had enough bad luck in my time. What was it Cream said? If I didn't have bad luck, I wouldn't have no luck at all. I know it wasn't Cream who said it. They took that from one of those old blues singers. I can't remember who it was. Anyway, these Dromati shoes are attractive, aren't they? Very nice. They've got a red interior. See, black on the outside, red in the interior. And I wore these on a trip to the North Pole. Now, I haven't always been 64. I have been younger some years ago, and I did some quite remarkable journeys. And I did this one to the North Pole on a fat bike. And the reason it's called a fat bike is it has really fat, really wide tyres. These tyres were a metre wide, and that enabled you to, or enabled me anyway, to cycle across the snow and the ice flows on my way to the North Pole. Now, I didn't struggle with water because I was able to use snow and ice and pack that into my camelback. Had a little trouble with food, so I managed to take, I took about 3 or 4 energy bars, and I took some Kendal mint cake, and that actually sustained me for the week and a half of my journey. Got to the North Pole. There wasn't very much there. There was a convenience store which surprised me, so I was able to buy some supplies. I bought a Cornish pasty, which I'm rather partial to. I also bought a pork pie and a couple of pints of milk. That was useful. I had a copy of the Radio Times as well, which I didn't have a TV with me, but it was somehow it was comforting to know that I was sitting at the North Pole. I was at this convenience store. I was able to get a coffee there, and then you take away cardboard cup of coffee, had my name on it. And I sat there. They had a little bench outside, and I sat down. I read the Radio Times, and I was able to see Mrs. Brown's Boys was on the television, and all of those other programs. Gardener's World, yes, that was on. Come Dine With Me. My daughter's rather partial to Come Dine With Me, so that was on the television. I was in this absolutely inhospitable wilderness of snow and ice and snow and a bit more ice, quite a lot of ice actually. So nothing there but me and the wilderness, the emptiness, the cold, and a Radio Times and a pork pie and a cardboard cup of coffee, or rather a cup of coffee in a cardboard cup. So, Dromatis. If you're planning a trip to the North Pole, you can see my my route on Strava. If you follow me on Strava, it is there. Not much in the way of landmarks, so you do need to be careful, because otherwise it's basically it's a straight line. You start, and after a couple of 100 miles you reach the North Pole. So I can highly recommend it, and these are the best shoes for the journey. The next pair I want to show you, and these are the first cycling shoes I ever bought. I'm 64 now. I bought these when I was 11. They are mountain bike style Shimano shoes. They've got some fluff in there, not quite sure why. And I really only use these now when I'm on Zwift. So I wear these, I get on the watt bike, and I do a Zwift workout. And if you don't know what Zwift is, where have you been? That's all I can say. If you don't know what Zwift is, where have you been? Zwift is Zwift. Google it. So, Shimano shoes, use on Zwift. The next pair I want to show you is this very attractive stonking blue. I love that colour, stonking blue. And these are Shimano. Shimano. I was just a little bit confused there because they said Michelin. See that Michelin on the bottom? And if you wear these shoes, you can get into a 1-star Michelin restaurant. It doesn't work with 2-star or 3-star, but you can get into a 1-star Michelin restaurant, and you're entitled to a free drink with your dinner. Just a soft drink, not a wine or a spirit or anything like that. But you can get a soft drink with your meal. So not many people know that. So the Shimano XC5 mountain bike style shoes with the BOA dials. Now these were absolutely brilliant. Last year, when I wanted to do the Trans-Siberian, yes, the Trans-Siberian is Moscow to Vladivostok, 2,000 miles, absolutely stunning journey. One of the best journeys you can do by bike. I didn't do it by bike. I went on the train, but I did have my bike with me. And one of the joys of the Trans-Siberian is that you can book your trip. You start in Moscow, so you've got to get to Moscow. You can fly to Moscow. I flew to Moscow with my bike. And then you put your bike on the train with you. It goes in a separate compartment. And when you stop at any of the many places that they stop on the journey, you can get your bike, you can put your kit on, and you can go for a ride. Not a very long ride. In most of the cases, the stops are 5 minutes, 10 minutes, occasionally 15 minutes. And at some of the bigger cities and towns, half an hour and even an hour on one occasion. So many of the rides I was able to do were really little more than pootles. They were hardly expeditions. But on the occasions when I was able to do an hour-long ride and wear the stonking blue Shimano XC5 shoes, I had a really enjoyable time. And then I got to Vladivostok and flew home, and that was my Trans-Siberian journey. So you might say, well, it's not a cycling trip, Julian. You went on a bloody train. Well, look, you naysayers, you anti-vaxxers, you mask deniers, you scoffers, you people who don't think my journeys are genuine. I say that a journey on the Trans-Siberian Express with your bike is a bike journey on the Trans-Siberian Express. And if you don't like it, well, you know what you can go and do. You can stop watching now. But I don't mean that literally, by the way. There's no reason why you should actually stop watching now, because you'll miss the next pair of shoes. So what is the next pair of shoes, you ask yourself? Well, the next pair of shoes are Siddies. You remember those? You don't do it anymore, but you used to get the adverts on Eurosport, very short adverts, and they'd show somebody riding a bike, and then it would say, Siddie, cycling shoes. And it was almost like a Hoover, wasn't it? In other words, it becomes a generic term, as if Siddies, they are cycling shoes, and cycling shoes are Siddies, which they are in a way, but they're not quite completely. These are Siddies. It says 5 on the side. Not quite sure why it says 5. I certainly don't have 5 of these. I only have, and 5 would be odd actually. If I had 5, that would mean I had 2.5 feet, or 2.5 pairs of feet. Yes, 2 pairs of feet would be 4. 2.5 pairs of feet would be 5. I don't have 5 feet. Obviously, I've 2 feet. I'm not a hobbit. No, it's a hobbit. A hobbit doesn't have 5 feet. A hobbit has, is it 6 toes? I'm getting confused now. I haven't read The Hobbit for years. I saw the film. No, I didn't see the film actually. I saw the Lord of the Rings films. I saw the full version, the director's cut, which lasted for 2 days and was dreadful. Anyway, these Siddies, they smell a bit. If you touch the screen just there, right? Just there, not there. No, if you touch the screen just there, you'll get a slight whiff of my feet from my Siddie shoes. Not entirely pleasant, but at least you'll get the full Siddie experience. So where did I wear these? I wore these for the Paris-Roubaix Sportive about 6 or 7 years ago, which I did with the Old Port Lions Cycling Club. Fabulous day. We stayed in a place called Tourcoing, which is the Venice of northern France. And then we did the route, and the rain was brutal. And there was snow, there was ice, there was howling gales. This was just in the hotel. And then when we got onto the route, there was a group of us, and I was having trouble keeping up. And my mate Steve said to me, "Sit in the pack, Julian, you'll be all right." Well, what fucking pack? What fucking pack? They all dropped me and left me behind. So I ended up doing the whole route on my own in miserable conditions. I remember at one point I was cycling along. I may have been on the Carrefour de l'Arbre, one of the great cobbled sections, and this lady passed me, a lady of a certain age, passed me with no trouble at all. And she noticed I was wearing a sort of club jersey, and she said to me, "Is that a club jersey?" And I said, yes, it is. And she said, "Are you enjoying it?" And I said, "No." And she cycled off into the distance, into the dust. Was there dust? No, there wasn't dust. There was snow and ice and wind and howling gales and sand. No, there wasn't any sand. And there was blistering sunshine. No, that was in Arabia. I'm getting my weather patterns confused. So I wore the cities on the Paris-Roubaix trip, and a wonderful time was had by all except me. We're getting on to the home straight now. So if you're getting a little bored, if you're thinking that I've had enough of this shoe video, there must be something else I can watch on YouTube. How the hell did this ever come up on my timeline, on my recommended videos? Somebody left a comment on one of my videos. I don't know why I'm laughing at my own jokes. My wife always says to me, I can always tell when you've made up one of your own jokes because you're laughing so much. Somebody left a comment saying, "How the hell did this video crop up on my timeline? Why on earth did YouTube think I'd be interested in this?" So if you're in that position, you're sitting there scrolling through. Do you scroll through, or you're browsing through YouTube, and one of my videos comes up on your timeline? You start watching it, and you think, "What is the matter with you, YouTube? I thought you were supposed to have the cleverest algorithms in the whole world, and this is absolute rubbish." The thing you can do, right, is if you point, or if you press your screen, don't press too hard, but if you press your screen just there, it'll whiz through to the end of the video, and then you won't have to sit through the rest. So, rushing through these, not quite the same stonking blue as the Shimano XC5s, but these are still a very nice blue, and these are my Rafa. Yes, I'm sorry to say. In the days before I saw the light and ceased to be a Rafa wanker, in the days before rock and roll, I used to be a Rafa wanker for my sins. So I bought these Rafa shoes, and I think this is one of the earliest pairs of shoes that Rafa made. And this rather attractive blue upper, I'm sure they said it was made of kangaroo skin. And I started Googling blue kangaroos. I thought, I've never heard of blue kangaroos. And then it dawned on me. I'm a bit like that SNP MP, Kathleen Ferrier. Did you see that? Her friend says she's not very bright. I'm not very bright. I actually thought they got this from a blue kangaroo. They didn't. They dyed these. The kangaroo was dead, but then they dyed the skins blue. What did I use these for? Well, I wanted to do a ride across Australia, and you may have heard about the Nullarbor Plane. The Nullarbor Plane. This is an expanse of desert that runs pretty much from South Australia across to Western Australia. So if you imagine that kind of picture of Australia, well, it's not really a circle, but if you imagine a kind of lower third of the circle, and you draw a straight line across from east to west, or west to east, you can go in either direction if you want, that would be the Nullarbor Plane. There is a train that runs across that, but unlike the Trans-Siberian Expressway, I went on the train. This one I actually rode. I rode the whole route, 800 miles it was. Took me a while, took me about a week, and not the easiest journey in the world. I'll be honest. There's a lack of, there are no towns. So there are very few places to eat. Oddly enough, and I must say this surprised me. I discovered this by looking on Google Earth when I was planning the route. There are petrol stations, and why there are petrol stations when there is no actual road is one of those eternal mysteries of Australia. But there are. So I was able to stop at petrol stations, and I was able to buy some of those things that you always get at petrol stations, a bar of barbecue briquettes, copy of the Daily Mail from a week earlier. Lots of different flavours of water, which was useful. Because I learnt a trick which I picked up from Audax, and that is that you can dilute water. Now this is not widely known, but amongst us long distance cyclists, if you have your bottle of water, right, and you've drunk about half of it, and you're worried, if you then buy some water and top up your bottle, and therefore you dilute the water that's in the bottle, you'll find that you now have a full bottle of water. And this was, unfortunately, this wasn't known by some of the great explorers of the past who died of thirst or were caught in the desert. They didn't realise that if you dilute water, you can start with a pint, as it then was in those times. You can start with a pint, and you can end up at the end of the journey with a gallon, because you've constantly topped up and therefore diluted your pint of water. So that was very helpful. I was also able to buy a couple of key rings, and they had a cash point, so I was able to get some cash out. They also had a blanket, kind of pet blanket. They were on special offer, so I bought a couple of those. Kept me warm at night, because all I had was I had my bivvy bag, and I had a tent and a tarpaulin and a hammock, and I had a sort of portable kind of inflatable type igloo thing, which sounds odd that you would have that in the desert, but I was able to inflate this, and that offered good protection. Had ensuite facilities, had to pay extra for that, but I set that up in the desert, and that sustained me for a while. I had a solar panel, so I was able to get Netflix, and I watched a full season of Selling Sunset. Quite enjoyed that. Watched 3 seasons of The Fall. First 2 seasons were all right. The third season I got a bit bored, but I was nearly at the end of my journey. So anyway, I'm getting a bit off topic. Were these any good? That's what you want to know. Blue Kangaroo Raffle Shoes, were they any good for a trip across the Nullarbor Plane? Yes, they were fine. So there it is. Nearly finished. Giro Empire in a stonking orange colour. I love these shoes. They've got laces, as you can see. Got look cleats on the bottom. Now, when I got my gravel bike, I was contacted by a number of companies who said to me, "You are the right looking model for some of our gravel bike photos. So what we'd like to do is we'd like to Photoshop you onto some photographs of Iceland, and we want you to look kind of moody. I'll try and look to that side. We want you to look moody and preferably sexy, but moody is more important if you can't do sexy." I said, "I can't do sexy, I'll do moody." So I did moody like that. And they said, we want you to imagine you're in Iceland and you're on a journey. You're on a long journey. At the end of that journey, there's going to be something important to you. We'll let you decide what's important to you, whether it's your children or your wife or a new bike. Obviously, I chose a new bike. And that's going to be our image. You're going to be the face of our gravel bike. I said, "Why does your gravel bike need a face?" And they said, "Don't ask questions, just take the money and get in front of the backdrop and get on with it." So I did. But then I thought, well, okay, I've got all this money for making these adverts about, cycling in Iceland. I thought, why don't I use it and go to Iceland? So I packed up my gravel bike, and I packed up my Giro Empire stonking orange shoes, and I went to Iceland. And I went across the ice floes, and I went through some of the volcanic pools and the geysers. There's a blue pool. I should have worn my blue shoes in the blue pool, but I wore my orange shoes. They didn't have an orange pool. Orange peel. Now, I had some oranges. There was orange peel, but no orange pool. There was a blue pool. I cycled across the blue pool. And I had my Iceland experience. And the thing was, and you may have been to Iceland and you may have discovered this, or you may still think of going to Iceland, but I never found Lake Me. I never found it. I was contemplating the mysteries of existence. I was contemplating the mysteries of our current government. I found no solution to that. I seem to be struggling with my words a bit. If you want to press the screen just there, you can fast forward over that bit. Well, you'll have to go back and then fast forward over the bit where I was stumbling over my words. But I didn't find Lake Me. I found Lake You. I found Lake Him. I found Lake Her. I found Lake Them. There was a socially distanced lake. There was only 6 of them there. But I didn't find Lake Me. What was that song? I've been to everywhere, but I haven't been to me. Is that it? I haven't been to Lake Me. I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go soon. Yeah, I'm gonna have to plan another journey. Maybe South America this time, because I have heard, folks, that in South America, in the jungles of the Amazon, where you can Amazon do jungles. Who'd have thought it? Amazon Prime. I'd like a jungle, please. Oh, I'm afraid it's out of stock. They burnt it down. Oh, political comment there. I'm going to go to South America, and I'm going to ride the full length of the Amazon. What I could do, here's an idea. I'm going to take my watt bike. Might be a bit heavy to put on the plane, but I'll take my watt bike, and I'm going to strap it to a raft, and then I'm going to go up the Amazon. I'm going to pedal up the Amazon on my watt bike, and I'll make a video, and I'll be searching for Lake Me. And if I find it, I'm not going to show you where it is. You're just going to have to find your own Lake Me. So I'm sorry this video has gone on for so long. I'm sorry if you're bored out of your minds. If you touch the screen just there, it will take you back to the beginning, and it'll be as if you have never seen this ridiculous video. So if you've watched this far, then God help you. There is something seriously wrong with your YouTube algorithm. But if you've watched this far, I want to say thanks. I love you all. Bring those comments on. It raises money for the Vine Food Bank in Croydon, which is in the UK, and one of these days I may even cycle there. So thanks for watching, and see you next time.